Hey there, guys. Dragon Master here. I want to welcome you to Star Wars in Earth Legends Episode 8, The End of the Yuuzhan Vong War. So, in the last Legends episode, I've been reading the comments and took note that some people were saying we should have crushed the Yuuzhan Vong much quicker, but I'm gonna explain that quickly. So, the Yuuzhan Vong, even though they're mostly organic, you think like nukes and stuff, they still have the power to bring a galaxy to its knees. And I mean, they are dangerous. I mean, they have been waiting for what, thousands of years outside of the Star Wars galaxy for thousands of years, waiting patiently. They are extremely technological advanced. They have moon-sized bioships. They are not an, and they even have a planet-sized ships. They are not an easy opponent, even with nukes and stuff. So that's really the only thing I really wanted to say. So, and also, we aren't as we still have nukes. We aren't just more darker, in the canon timeline. We aren't as dark because Earth is still around. So we even become full on kill everyone, leave no prisoner sight. So yeah. So that's really all I gotta say. So without further ado, let's get into the video. We start off with a ship. This ship is currently being piloted only by droids, and it is currently being pursued by Yuuzhan Vong fleet. So, the Yuuzhan Vong having recently learned that their enemies have begun sending out ships full of droids, and if there's one thing they hate more than machines, that's droids and technology, they immediately began sending out fleets to find out, feeling that these droids would come part of some sort of plan. What they failed to realize, this was all part of Thrawn's plan. Invaders. Both Thrawn and Vader's plan was pretty simple and complex in a way. They were going to load hundreds of ships full of droids, old battle droids and droids made for battle to be sent out, and to make it look like they were going to be dropped off on the battlefield. That they were replacing much of their organic soldier with droids. From what Thrawn knew is that they hate droids relating to some sort of droid race they fought. If this was, and if he was right, this would enrage them and they would begin sending out. And much to his chagrin and along with Vader's, the plan worked. Yuuzhan Vong immediately sent out fleets, and Thrawn's plan would come into fruition as he was trying to weaken the Yuuzhan Vong's presence on certain planets, as it was all part of one big operation to end the Yuuzhan Vong. The Terrans and Thrawn had begun noticing, over these past couple of years, that some Yuuzhan Vong were starting to lose faith in their so-called religion and beliefs in their gods and stuff, as some things weren't adding up to it all. So Thrawn wanted to put doubt in their leadership, why they were purposely sacrificing their lives for no meaningless. So each of those ships full of droids carried a bomb on it, a nuclear bomb. And the radiation was enough to kill at least half the Yuuzhan Vong's fleet that was following them. This worked wonders because when the Yuuzhan Vong cornered the ship and began boarding it, they immediately caught off guard when the droids activated the bomb. This caused the nuclear bomb to go off and spread in radiation. The Yuuzhan Vong immediately felt this, and since their ships and most of their technology is organic, they immediately began suffering for it. They had to retreat. This happened all across the galaxy. For the next couple remaining years of the war, they would use this strategy. They would build droids with nuclear in turns, and decided to start going a bit more darker. Some planets would have radiation for hundreds of years, meaning some places would be uninhabitable for people, but they realized the sacrifice was better. This worked well. Yuuzhan Vong leadership, of course, kept sending out troops, and of course began to lose faith. And that's where Thrawn's ultimate plan came into fruition. He and Vader had devised that They had to take down the Yuuzhan Vong leadership, their supreme overlord, at Coruscant where he was stationed, along with a good portion of their fleet. The plan was pretty simple, as they had been diverting fleets away from that border, and they had begun gathering fleets from all across the galaxy. The Mandalorians had brought a fleet of warships. The Imperial Remnant, or as the New Empire, New Imperial Order as they called themselves, were also ready, with a new fleet of Star Destroyers. The New Republic was also here, having gathered a fleet of their own. The Terrans were here as also, but to even out the odds, they had also brought the Chiss fleets as well. The Hards Congemini, I can't really say it, was a group that was in the Inner Rim. The Terrans didn't have much contact with them, but they had also been suffering to Yuuzhan Vong invaders, and they had been brutal. Many of their worlds had been lost. Huts, criminals, and all people across the galaxy had gathered one ginormous fleet, and Thrawn and Vader were spearheading this fleet. Their fleets would launch, along with the new Jedi Order. The fleets would arrive at Coruscant, and one of the biggest space battles in galactic history would take place. It would go on for days, as Yuuzhan Vong forces were immediately alerted, and immediately they began abandoning battlefields to go aid their supreme overlord. This would be a battle of pure destruction. As when troops landed on Coruscant, they began fighting Yuuzhan Vong. A team of Luke, his wife Mara Jade, his niece and nephew, Jason and Jenna Solo would also arrive, along with Darth Vader. They immediately launch an assault at the palace where Supreme Overlord was, along with Terran Marines. They would eventually make it to his chambers where they would fight the Supreme Overlord. Jaman, I can't really say his name. The battle would go on. They would battle him for half an hour before he was finally brought down. Many of them were injured. But then it was revealed that he was being controlled by his familiar, oh my, I can't say his name either. He still had the Force and had been manipulating the Supreme Overlord. And he began telling them how he planned to make this galaxy his. Of course, what he didn't know was that the Terrans had this recorded, sent this all across the galaxy. Meaning that everyone saw his confession, and when they told him, he was enraged. They immediately attacked. The fight would be brutal, but they'd be able to kill him. Of course, this meant now when they came out, they saw some Yuuzhan Vong were horrified by what this revelation had dropped their weapons. Some wanted to still fight, and some already made the mind not to give up. Those who didn't want to fight got on their knees and surrendered. Those who didn't got ready for a battle. But then a shadow cast itself over Coruscant. Everyone looked up and were surprised to see a ginormous sort of spinning planet. It revealed itself to be Zong Sing. I can't say his name either. He was the original dead homeworld of the Yuuzhan Vong. He had been following them and had come to this galaxy to reclaim his lost people. Ron, of course, was happy and explained to the happy to accept this, and he told the Yuuzhan Vong to surrender themselves, and their planet would take care of them, as their planet was still here and ready for them. The remaining Yuuzhan Vong just surrendered at this point. Of course, some would later, how do I phrase this? Well, I guess kill themselves. Most would, but the remaining ones would go to the planet, as the remaining Yuuzhan Vong leadership would sign a treaty with the New Republic and surrender, along with the other powers of the galaxy. Of course, not all was well, as Thrawn, having been wounded, would fall to his knees. Of course, Thrawn would be treated, but sadly he could not. He could no longer make it, as his body was finally given up on him. Fron would tell his friends it was an honor serving with them, along with Shepard. He would give one final smile, knowing that he had saved the galaxy and his people. And that is where we're gonna leave it off. So yeah, the Yuuzhan Vong is over. If you want to explain, ship was more or less wounded, like his ship was at spearhead, and so he suffered a lot. His main ship suffered a lot of damage, and he was wounded. Got a piece of a Yuuzhan Vong staff stabbed into him. So that Fron knew what was going to happen. This was more as future reference. Fron knew all this was going to happen, the peace treaty and stuff. He already suspected that, so yeah, if it doesn't make a bit of sense at the end why Fron isn't. So yeah, Fron saw the peace treaty and things. He knew probably what would happen afterwards, as he's quite good when it comes to predicting stuff. So yeah, the next two Legends episode are really gonna focus, like, I do have plans for the continue the Legends series and something else, like the remaining much of the story. So yeah, next episode's really gonna be about recovering. The last one gets into one of the less wars, the Bug Wars. And also, we're gonna find out what happened to Vader next episode. So, without further ado, goodbye.